The yard lights buzzed as dawn scraped across the razor wire. In the shadow of Block C, Officer Mitch Daly knelt beside Valor, his K-9, his partner of 8 years, his only friend who never lied. "It's almost over, girl," he whispered, resting his forehead against hers. She whimpered softly, sensing something off in the air. The gate clanged open behind him. In exactly 47 minutes, the state was going to execute Lucas Cade, convicted killer, ex-Marine, and the one man Mitch wasn't sure deserved to die. The sun was rising slow and red, bleeding through the slit windows of Stonewater Correctional Facility, like the place itself was wounded. Mitch Daly lit his second cigarette of the morning and leaned on the chain-link fence that surrounded the east yard. It was quiet, except for the hum of floodlights and the wind hissing through razor wire. Valor sat beside him, unmoving. Her ears were perked forward, nose twitching. She hadn't taken her eyes off cell 213 for nearly an hour. "You miss him," Mitch muttered, glancing down. The K-9 didn't answer, obviously, but her body was tense, her jaw tight like she was waiting for something. Valor had served nearly a decade with the department. She was nearing retirement, hips stiff, muzzle graying, but instinct still razor sharp. Mitch trusted them more than he trusted most men on this side of the bars. Lucas Cade's cell had been empty since 3 a.m., when the guards had come for him. Nonviolent, quiet, compliant as always. A man with 2 confirmed kills under his belt, one of them a child. But even after 3 years working this post, Mitch couldn't get a read on the guy. There was something off about the charges, and something wrong with how calm Cade had been when they walked him to the final holding chamber. "Officer Daly," came a voice behind him. "Warden Havers." Mitch turned, slow. The warden was a broad-shouldered man with clean hands and dead eyes. He ran the prison like a math problem. No emotion, just equations. Schedule plus protocol equals order. Need you by the block entrance in 10. Protesters are back. We got clergy coming through too. "Understood," Mitch replied, brushing ash off his uniform. Havers started to walk off, then turned back. "Leave the dog. She doesn't need to be part of this today." Mitch hesitated, hand on Valor's harness. "She's part of everything I do." The warden didn't respond, just narrowed his eyes and walked away. At 7:42 a.m., Lucas Cade sat in the white-walled holding room, cuffs loose on his wrists, staring at the metal table in front of him. Father Arlen stood nearby, clutching his Bible like a lifeline, sweat dotting his collar. "You can still confess," the priest said quietly. "They won't stop the execution, but God forgives." Lucas looked up slowly. "You believe I did it?" Arlen hesitated. "That's what I thought." Cade leaned back. "They said the girl was 6, that her father found her buried in his backyard. You think I'm the kind of man who does that?" The priest's throat bobbed, his fingers tightening on the leather cover. "I don't know what kind of man you are." Cade didn't answer. He turned his head slightly and stared to the narrow window that looked into the yard. A flash of movement, just enough to catch the tail of AK-9 trotting near the fence. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Where's Valor?" Arlen blinked. "The dog? She's the only one who ever looked at me like I wasn't already dead." The priest didn't know what to say to that. Back in the yard, Mitch was pacing. Valor wasn't moving. She had pressed herself low to the ground outside cell 213, head down, nose brushing the concrete. She pawed once, light deliberate, and then stared at Mitch. He froze. "No," he said aloud. "No way." He stepped forward, crouched, brushed his palm over the spot where Valor had nudged. The cement was cold, normal, but he'd seen that posture before. Last time was when she helped uncover that corpse in the creek during a missing persons case. He pressed his fingers against the base of the wall, listened, and that's when he heard it. Click, a faint metallic sound, like pressure shifting behind the wall. "Prison walls don't click," he muttered. He stood, looked around. The guards at the towers weren't watching him. Good. Mitch reached into his belt pouch and pulled out his folding knife. He knelt again, scraped along the edge of the floor. The blade slipped into something, a seam. "What the hell?" He pushed harder, and then the entire tile gave way. A steel trapdoor, painted to match the floor. Invisible unless you knew where to press. He looked at Valor. She whined. "Stay," he told her, then pulled out his radio. "Control, this is Officer Daly. I need Warden Havers at the East Yard. Now!" 5 minutes later, the warden was glaring down at the exposed panel. 2 other guards standing nearby with rifles slung across their backs. "What the hell is this?" Havers demanded. "I don't know, but it's under a death row inmate cell." "Did you open it?" "No. I waited." Havers turned to one of the guards. "Crowley, get the key card. Let's see what the bastard left us." The panel wasn't locked with a key card. It was mechanical, a turnwheel system like an old submarine hatch. Crowley strained against the metal until it gave a groan and swung open. The smell hit them first. Rot. Old, wet wood. Decay. A narrow tunnel stretched downward, maybe 4 feet wide. It looked handmade, reinforced with crossbeams. A small set of wooden steps led into the dark. Havers hesitated. "Daly, take the dog. Go down first." Mitch didn't argue. He clipped Valor's harness light onto her vest, adjusted the shoulder strap on his own flashlight, and stepped into the hatch. The dog followed without a sound. The steps creaked. The air grew cold. Dirt walls closed in around them. At the bottom, the tunnel curved and opened into a small chamber. What they found stopped him cold. There were 3 things in the room. A dusty cot with moldy blankets, an unplugged monitor with wires, and a photo taped to the wall. Mitch stepped closer. It was a girl, 6 years old, smiling wide, hair in messy braids. A date scribbled in pen on the back. March 18, 2022. 2 days after the girl had gone missing. Cade's trial had claimed he killed her that same night. But the timestamp on the photo, taken from the corner of the screen, said otherwise. March 20th, 2022. 2 days after he'd allegedly buried her body. Mitch's stomach turned. This doesn't make sense. He heard Havers behind him. The warden looked pale. Who the hell took that photo? Mitch didn't answer. Valor had moved toward the far wall. She was pawing again. Mitch joined her, shining the flashlight. Another seam. Another compartment. He opened it. Inside was a set of clothes. A child's pink hoodie. Jeans. A pair of little sneakers. And a USB stick taped to the lining. Mitch turned. Havers had already pulled out his phone. He wasn't dialing anyone. He was deleting something. Who knew this was here? Mitch asked slowly. Havers didn't respond. "Sir." The warden put his phone away. "No one. And no one ever will." Upstairs, the clock hit 8:13. Lucas Cade was escorted into the chamber by 2 guards. The priest stayed outside the glass. They strapped him down, injected the first sedative. He didn't resist, but his last words were barely audible. "Tell Valor. I tried to stop it." The nurse looked confused, but it didn't matter. 10 minutes later, the heart monitor flatlined. Lucas Cade was gone. Outside in the yard, Mitch held the USB drive in his hand. He hadn't told Havers he pocketed it. He'd lied, said it was empty, but it wasn't. He knew it. He could feel Valor's eyes on him. That look she gave when she was waiting for him to do the right thing, even when he didn't want to. And for the first time in years, Mitch Daly felt the weight of something worse than guilt. Doubt. The USB slid into the port with a soft click. Mitch sat hunched over his rusting laptop at home, the one he hadn't updated since Valor blew out her knee chasing a meth dealer in 21. The blinds were drawn. Valor lay on the kitchen floor nearby, tracking him with her tired amber eyes. It was just past midnight. On the screen, the folder loaded one directory. Subject, A. Marin. Inside, 13 video files, each labeled only with a date. The earliest, March 17th, 2022, the day before Addison Marin was reported missing. Mitch's jaw locked as he double-clicked the first file. Video file 1, March 17, 22, grainy footage from a low-resolution camera. A small room, dull gray walls, a mattress in the corner, child's backpack against the wall. A girl sat on the mattress, hugging a teddy bear, not crying, just waiting. A man's voice spoke off camera. "Addie, "Can you look at the camera again?" She didn't respond. He tried again. "We talked about this, remember? You're going to be okay. Just for a little while." Then he stepped into frame. It wasn't Lucas Cade. It was a corrections officer. Mitch's blood iced over. Officer Jared Crowley. Mitch backed away from the laptop, hands trembling. Crowley, the same guy who'd opened the tunnel hatch. Always quick to follow orders. Always one step too helpful when it came to cleaning up messes. He turned to look at Valor. "You knew, didn't you?" She didn't move, but her eyes held his. He clicked through 2 more files. Different days, same room. Addie hadn't been hurt. Not in the way he feared. She was fed, kept indoors. But she always looked at the camera like it didn't exist. Like she had already learned that screaming never helped. Then, in video 6, everything changed. Video file 6, March 20th, 22. Addie sat on the bed. She looked tired, hollow. A faint bruise on her arm. Crowley entered, agitated. "He knows." A second man's voice replied, low and sharp. "He's going to talk?" "No, but he found the tunnel. He's been down there. I don't think we can risk it." The camera tilted, shifting as if it were being moved. Then Cade appeared in the doorway, hands tied, face bruised. "You used my goddamn self for this," he growled. Crowley's answer was quiet. "You should have kept your mouth shut." Static. The video cut to black. Mitch closed the laptop. He couldn't breathe. Lucas Cade hadn't kidnapped Addie Marin. He'd found her and tried to get her out. They'd used his prison cell, cut a tunnel beneath it while he slept, hid the girl in the crawl space, used him as a patsy. And when he figured it out, they framed him for it. And now Lucas Cade was in a body bag under Department of Corrections property. Because someone had made sure justice never saw daylight. It was 3:47 a.m. when Mitch called in sick. By 4:15, he was parked outside Father Arlen's rectory. The priest answered in a bathrobe, Bible still in hand. "Officer Daly?" "We need to talk," Mitch said, stepping inside. "Now." He laid the USB drive on the table. Let the priest see it. "Play it. Watch it." Halfway through the 3rd file, Arlen was weeping silently. "I gave him last rites," he whispered, "and I believed he did it. All this time. He tried to tell us." Mitch said. He asked where Valor was. She would have sniffed the girl on him. She knew something was wrong. And the state killed him anyway. "No," Mitch said, voice low. "Havers killed him. Crowley set him up, and Havers let it happen." Father Arlen leaned back, fingers trembling. "What do we do?" Mitch looked at Valor. She was standing now, pacing slow, restless. "We make this impossible to ignore." By morning, every major news outlet in the state had received an anonymous email. Inside, 13 video files. A statement. Lucas Cade was innocent. These videos were found beneath his prison cell, in a tunnel built by prison staff. The girl was alive after he was accused of killing her. He was executed anyway. The story hit hard. Hard enough to wake the ghosts that Stonewater had buried deep. But it wasn't until the reporters descended on the prison gates that the department started panicking. Warden Havers stood in his office, pale as bone. The TV on the wall played the footage on a loop. The girl, the voice, the tunnel, Cade's face. He reached for the phone, called Crowley. No answer. Again, nothing. He swore under his breath. Then his eyes caught something on the monitor, outside the prison gates. Through the haze of camera flashes, he saw them. Mitch Daly and Valor, holding a press badge, standing with a reporter from Channel 8, and smiling just slightly. By noon, Crowley's body was found in a motel room 3 towns over. Gunshot to the head. No note, just a duffel bag of cash. And a Department of Corrections badge, burned halfway through. Mitch saw the report on TV. Didn't say a word. He stood in the living room, staring at Valor. We're not done. 2 weeks passed. The prison suspended operations. The governor launched an inquiry. Cade's body was exhumed. A posthumous investigation began. They found DNA beneath the girl's fingernails. It wasn't Cade's. It was Crowley's. Lucas K. died protecting a child the system forgot. And no one in power wanted that truth to live, except one man and one dog. Late one evening, Mitch pulled into a quiet driveway on the far edge of Marshall County. He got out of the truck and walked up the porch steps. Valor followed, slow and limping now. He knocked. A woman opened the door, mid-30s, hollow-eyed but alert. In her arms, a little girl. Addie Marin. She was alive. He crouched. "Hey there," Mitch said softly. The girl stared at him. Then her eyes shifted to Valor. Her lips parted. "Dog," she whispered. Valor sat down and gently leaned her head into the girl's tiny hand. The woman, Addie's mother, spoke quietly. "I never believed Kay did it. Not once. But they wouldn't listen. They just wanted someone to blame." Mitch nodded. "They don't get to bury this anymore." That night, as Mitch sat on the hood of his truck, he looked up at the stars over rural Tennessee, the kind of sky you could only see far from cities and sin. Val was curled beside him, head resting on his boot. He ran his hand over her ear. "You saved her. You knew." She didn't move, but he swore he saw something in her. Pride, maybe, or just peace. They sat like that for a long time, until the phone rang. It was a journalist. "Daly, the DA wants to speak to you. They want a formal statement. And the governor's office is asking about your testimony." Mitch hung up without answering. Then he whispered one last time, like he had that morning at the yard fence. "We're not going back, girl. Not now." Valor looked up and barked once. The courtroom was colder than it needed to be. Mitch Daly sat at the witness stand, uniform jacket pressed but collar loose, hands folded over his lap. He hadn't shaved in 2 days. Didn't bother. The prosecutor, a wiry woman with hard eyes and a voice like gravel, asked the question again. "Officer Daly, to your knowledge, did anyone in the Stonewater chain of command know about the tunnel beneath cell 213 prior to Lucas Cade's execution?" Mitch looked out across the rows of people. Reporters, parents, former inmates. No cameras allowed, but pens scratched like knives. "Yes," he said. A hush. "Who?" she pressed. Mitch exhaled slowly. Warden Havers. A collective intake of breath, like the room had a single lung. The prosecutor nodded once. "You may step down." Outside the courthouse, the crowd waited. A dozen microphones thrust forward the second Mitch descended the marble steps. "Officer Daly, do you believe Kay was murdered by the state? Was there a cover-up? What about your K-9? How did she know something was wrong?" He didn't speak, just kept walking. Valor moved beside him, head held high despite her limp. He opened the door of the truck, helped her in gently, then shut it. Only once the noise was muffled behind the windshield did he finally speak aloud. He was trying to save her, and they killed him for it. 2 days later, Warden Havers was arrested in his home. Obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, misuse of state funds. More charges were coming. Mitch knew it, but it didn't feel like a win. Justice didn't dig up bodies 2 years too late. Justice didn't put men in holes and pat itself on the back. That night, Valor stopped eating. The vet's office was small, quiet, smelled like antiseptic and old leather. Mitch sat on the floor beside the exam table, one hand resting on Valor's chest. "She's tired," the vet said softly. "Her kidneys are failing. She's given everything she has." Mitch nodded. He could feel her heart. Still strong. Still hers. "Would you like a moment?" the vet asked. He didn't answer. Just leaned down until his forehead touched Valor's. "You don't owe me anything," he whispered. "You've done more than anyone ever could." She blinked slowly. Then, with what felt like all the strength she had left, she licked the scar on his cheek. The same scar he'd gotten back in 19, when she pulled him out of a burning meth house. The same day he stopped drinking. The same day he knew she was the only partner he could ever trust. He gave the nod and let her go. The funeral wasn't much. Just him, a folded flag, a patch from her vest, one chew toy, sun-faded and torn. But the stone marker said, K9 Valor, partner, protector, witness. 2013 to 2025. She knew. Mitch didn't go back to Stonewater. They offered desk job, consultant role. Even the feds reached out, profiling unit in Quantico. He turned them all down. Instead, he drove small towns, cold diners, bad coffee. He spoke to anyone who'd listen. County boards, school gymnasiums, church basements. Told them about Cade, about Addie, about what justice sometimes really looked like. He didn't want to be famous. He wanted people to stop forgetting the wrong ones. One night, in a dusty bar off Route 42, a man in plain clothes slid onto the stool beside him. "Daly, right?" The man said, voice cautious. Mitch didn't look at him. "That depends. I used to work dispatch in Stonewater, back when Cade came in. I was there the night he got booked." Mitch turned now, eyes sharp. "You knew something?" "I knew something didn't fit. The log times were off. The chain of custody was rushed. It felt planted." He reached into his coat, slid a small hard drive onto the bar. "Maybe this helps." Mitch stared at it, didn't speak for a long time. "Finally, what's on it?" "Everything. Internal memos, transfer orders, security overrides. There's stuff on there that names names." Mitch's voice dropped low. "Why give it to me?" The man stood. "Because you're the only one who's not afraid to use it." He watched the man walk out, left the drive on the bar, then picked it up, pocketed it, and walked outside into the wind. The stars were out again. But this time, they looked different. 3 months later, Lucas Cade was exonerated. Officially, a federal judge declared the execution a miscarriage of justice. The state issued a statement, brief, sterile, and full of legalese. Addie Marin's parents were given a settlement. Quiet, confidential. The Department of Corrections went dark. But something had changed. People knew Cade's name now. Knew Valor's too. Knew Mitch Daly, the broken officer who wouldn't play along. And still, none of it brought Cade back. The last place Mitch ever visited before disappearing from headlines was a hilltop near Briar Hollow, Tennessee. He stood alone in front of a grave with no real headstone, just a wooden cross. The marker read, Lucas Cade, 1985 to 2025. He tried. A soft wind blew through the tall grass. Mitch knelt, set something on the dirt. A collar, black nylon, gold tag still scratched. He didn't speak, didn't cry, just let the quiet hold him. And then he whispered one last thing. Not to Cade, not to the wind, but to Valor. "Rest, girl. It's done."